Good evening. Hopefully everyone is safe. And you've already reviewed the Ohm's Law PowerPoint. If you have, we're going to do some practice problems on worksheet 111. So there's a few things that we need to go over first. First thing that we need to do is at this point, from now on, everything is going to be in engineering notation. So just as a reminder, how to put things into engineering notation on your calculator is you punch in your number, you're going to press the catalog button, which is just below the D-pad on your calculator, and then you're going to scroll down to engineering symbol, hit OK, and then find the correct metric prefix. Remember, we're not putting in the electrical unit in your calculator, so we're not putting in volts, we're not putting in amps, watts, ohms, or coulombs, any of that stuff. Only the metric prefixes, micro, milli, mega, kilo, stuff of that nature. Also, we are rounding all of our numbers, so I expect at least 3 spaces behind every decimal place. So if I give you a number or you give me a number, you got a decimal point, I expect 3 spaces behind it. Unless, of course, you got those unnecessary, useless filler zeros. Those, I don't care for those. You can, at that point, drop those things off because it's unnecessary. Okay, so we have the Ohm's law wheel that you have on your PowerPoint here. I'm not sure if you know how to use it yet, but that's why you're here. So we have the wheel, and inside the wheel, we have our volts, we have our power, we have our current, we have our resistor. I would write that down inside of those on your paper. I would actually, if you printed this out, but I'll give you a copy when we meet back up. But we're going to write down voltage, we'll write down power in this section, resistance, current. We'll even write down amps, ohms, watts, and volts. That way we know what those are each and every time. And when we actually go and use it, we'll have that as a easy, quick reference guide to look at. So when we use this worksheet, the best way to use this worksheet is always use what is given to find these answers. So it's going to force you to use some of the formulas that you're not going to like using. Yeah, this square root formula, that square root formula, these square formulas, you're not going to like those that much unless you love math. But I understand. We're going to get that out of you. So the first one is, what do they give you? They gave us some information here, and we need to understand the information that they gave us. So they gave us circuit current at 80 milliamps, and they gave us the resistance at 3K ohms. That's what they gave us up front. So they gave us those values to work with. And they want to know, again, what is our voltage? So those are the only 3 things we should be focusing on, the 3 things that we should be concerned with. So what we're going to do is look for what we're trying to find. So we're trying to find voltage. So the first thing, we'll find voltage in the middle of the circle. And which means at this time, all we're going to focus on are the 3 formulas. Make that nice and sloppy. The 3 formulas that deal with voltage. That's all I'm looking at. And then I'm going to look at current and resistance. There's only one formula that has both current and resistance. And of course, you'll see that that is current times resistance. So of course, you're going to have your current times your resistance in order to find your voltage. You could write that down. Of course, I'm doing this in the most difficult way possible because I'm using the mouse to do that. But you're going to have to enter that in your calculator. So you're going to do 80 milli. So don't forget to put in milli. So of course you're going to have to go through the catalog, find engineering symbol, and then find milli. Then you're going to hit times 3K or kilo, which is again go into catalog, find engineering symbol, find kilo, and then your calculator is going to spit out a number. It's going to spit out 240. They gave it, they asked for in voltage. You found the calculation for voltage, so it should be in volts. Your answer should be 240 volts. Not to make everything messy, I went ahead and cleared off the other stuff. But now we're looking at power. And the other one didn't look as well, so it was a little harder to see for me on, so it can only possibly be difficult for you. But we're looking for power here. Ugh, that just covered up everything and made a mess, but who cares? So we're looking for power. So it's going to be, again, these three formulas using power. One of these has current. There's current. There's current. No current there, so it's not that one. And it's going to have resistance. That doesn't have resistance. That has resistance, so it's going to be that formula. Current and resistance is found only in that one. So again, it's going to be current squared. They don't show it, but anytime those letters are right next to each other, it's going to be multiplied by. So it's current times resistance. So in this case, we're going to put in our number. So it's going to be 80 milli, because that is what current is. 80 milli. So make sure you go into the catalog and find engineering symbol and then milli. Now the catch is this squared. The squared button is directly below the catalog button, and it's going to be a little weird symbol that looks like this. It has a little square with a exponent of 2 on it. Then you're going to multiply that by 3K. You punch all of that in the calculator, hit execute or equals, and you're going to come up with 19.2. 19.2. Power is measured in watts, so you're going to have to put a W behind it. Again, your calculator didn't give you a metric prefix, so there is no metric prefix. You just have to put in the electrical unit that's associated with power. Yep, still more fun. Fun for everyone. Here it goes. Round whatever we're on. So we have source voltage. He gave us voltage at 10 volts, resistance at 2.5K. And we're going to start off by looking at current. So I is current. We have voltage and resistance. That's this one. Voltage and resistance here. So it says that we have volts divided by our resistance. So that'll be 10 divided by 2.5K. Do not forget the K. This one is going to result in you having in your calculator 4 milli. Make sure you write down the 4 milli. 4 milli. And then, of course, we found current, and current is measured in amps. You're going to have to write down amps because that's associated with current. Next up, we have power. So we have power, find power. We got voltage and resistance. Yuck. Voltage and resistance. We got another square there. So voltage squared divided by resistance here. So we're going to take 10 squared divided by 2.5K. So 10 squared, either you could just do 10 squared or do it in your head, love mental math. Divided by 2.5K, which is going to give you again another, handwriting sloppy here, apologize. Another metric prefix, this time it is 40 milli. Power's measured in watts, bam, and you come up with a 40 milliwatts. So now we have voltage, current, and we're trying to find resistance. We got resistance, voltage, and current. So we're going to just simply 15 volts divided by my current, don't forget, and you should come up with a ugly, ugly, ugly number. 272, make that decimal point more prominent. 727, the next number is 2, we just dropped that off. And then there is no metric prefix, we just have the ohm symbol. That's a pretty ohm symbol. It's about as good as you're gonna get it. Next up, we have power. Where's my marker? There it is. Power, and we have voltage and current. That's going to be fairly easy here. 15 times 55 milli, and that'll give us 825 metric prefix of milli. Again, power is measured in watts. Power dissipated by the circuit, and then we got source voltage. We're looking for resistance. So we got resistance. We have power and voltage. Power and voltage there. So we got voltage squared, 3.2 squared divided by my power of 250 milli. And once we do that calculation, we're going to come up with 40.96, and we'll drop that and just call it 40.96. Next up is current. So current, and we're looking at power and voltage, which is fairly simple. 250 milli, and then we're going to divide that by 3.2 volts. This one comes up to be 78.125 milli. Again, that's amps. Don't forget my decimal. Decimal wasn't clear. Number 5, power and current, and now we're looking at voltage. So power and current. So if I could find where my marker is, there it is. Power and current. So we take our 300 milli and we'll divide that by my 720 milli, and that should give me a beautiful, not really, 416.6666. We're going to round that up to 7, and we come up with a milli at the end of all of that. And of course, this is voltage, so that gets a V. Next up, they want resistance, and they gave us power and current here. So we have 300 milli for power, and then we have 720 milliamps, but this is squared. So that's going to make it a little interesting. So that comes up to be 578. That's 8, totally 8. There's a decimal there. 704 milli. That's a nice, pretty omega symbol for you. So we got power and we got current. We're looking at voltage here. So we have power and voltage. I'm sorry, power and current. Power, current. We got power, milli, current, and that's going to give us, ooh, that looked rough. That is rough. Wow. And that is volts. That's what you call art. That's what that is. That is art. That's Picasso art right there. Doesn't look sloppy at all. It's total art. And then we come to resistance now. Power and current again. Looks like they're getting a little sloppy. Seems like we're doing the same stuff over again. But, okay. Whatever, worksheet. You want to do the same stuff over again? I guess we'll do the same stuff over again. 1.1, that's a decimal, 57 ohms. Oh, and in fact, the rest of the worksheet, 7, 8, 9, 10, are repeats of the other questions on the worksheet. I'm going to go ahead and also post on Inside Ranking 1-12 to give you additional practice. Homework is 1-13. This is an attendance requirement. So I'm going to check attendance at the end of the night. I'm going to enter it at the end of the night because I have to enter attendance each night. But again, I'm going to check it again before Monday and enter the actual attendance. So if you don't get the homework done tonight and you wait until, I guess, Monday, I'll adjust attendance accordingly. Other than that, stay safe.